Live from Kirk's Corner.
What's that?
Live from Kirk's Corner.
That's right, live from Kirk's Corner. All right, it's on, so be quiet. What we're going to talk about in this video is handling the sandblasting cabinet, how to clean it, how to maintain it, kind of tips, tricks, things you're looking for. First thing, when when cleaning it, taking care of it, unplug the air source so you don't get sand when you're messing with the gun. The first thing you want to look at is the actual gun itself. So the gun it's basically two parts. It has a tip that wears out from the sand going through it that needs to be changed. The simple way to get the tip out is take a pair of channel locks, twist it out. You got a tip like this. I'm going to try and give you an idea of what happens with the tip. So what happens with the tip is, see how that one's kind of hollowed out compared to that one? This tip has been bad for a while. These tips, if we have a busy day, honestly, this tip should probably be changed once a day. The wider that hole gets, the less sandblasting power you have. So you want to change that tip, you simply take it out, put the new one in where the old one was. The old tips are gone. You simply just put that back in there. We have another part. It's actually inside kind of connects to the tip that we just replaced. Pair of channel locks. Pull that guy out. So this guy looks like this. So that's what you have here. The tip will kind of wear off right there. It does have a rubber gasket on there. That's what actually keeps the gun sealed. These again are garbage. Do note that these go in a very, it's a specific way these go in. So when putting this back together, make sure you're cognizant of that as well. So this drops in. Back together, you want to squeeze these two things together, make sure you get a good seal. Tighten it down, it doesn't have to be super tight, and that'll hold the gun together. So the gun has no leaks, that's what you want to see. Take that back off. The tips are there's a bin right over here on the side wall. That's right where the tips are, that's where they'll always be. Next we're going to talk about changing the screen, or the actual plastic cover on here. So this is just the thing to hold this in place. This is actually to block the sun. That's all this thing does. Take this out. Screen simply peels off like that. These old screens are garbage. New screens are usually positioned behind here or in the back room. Take a new screen. Just the same way this thing was on here before. Position it on there again. duct tape it. You're gonna duct tape all four sides, obviously. Hold that in place. I always take this screw, I reach back in here, I find the hole, poke that through, put this back in. Boom. New screen, obviously we duct tape it all the way around. This sits on that, and this actually blocks the sun. The summer months when you got the door open, you can't see in there very well, so that actually blocks the sun. Another note that you want to be very, very careful of. There's light bulbs in there. When the light bulbs go bad, it's extremely important that when you try and twist the bulb out, the bulb generally will kind of break off in there. So you want to make sure you got it unplugged. You can use a tool to get the remnants out, but bulbs don't generally just twist out when you go to change them. So do keep that in mind as well. So obviously one of the things in there is, the thing in there is sand. We want to make sure we keep this sand clean. So what happens is when you're sandblasting, whatever we're sandblasting in there, the debris will fall down into the sand and it gets caught in the sand and then it blocks up the machine. So, once a week, once every 2 weeks, generally if we're busy, once a week, you want to sift the sand out. I'm going to kind of briefly go through that. You may or may not be able to see what's going on, but the idea is we have this screen. The screen is usually positioned over here, somewhere along this wall right here. This is what you're going to sift the sand through to get the debris out. We have buckets underneath it, just 5-gallon buckets. You simply drain the sand from the sandblasting cabinet down into a 5-gallon bucket, and be careful because sometimes there is more sand in there than 5 gallons, so you got to be aware of that. But drop the sand in the 5-gallon bucket, go back and forth a time or two, we're good. I'll give you an idea of what that looks like. No, I won't. You can probably figure that out, actually. I won't give you an idea of what that looks like, but you get the idea. Another key point is there's a vacuum related to this sandblasting cabinet. The vacuum has obviously an in hose, and then it has an outlet hose for exhaust. You want to disconnect those, undo the actual vacuum portion of it, and then you have that container. You're also going to sift through the container. The best way to pour the sand back in is through the top. So I always recommend ripping this top off before you put the top back on. Sift the sand, pour the sand back in the top. Another key in this is when you on the bottom, that's where you drain the sand out of. You got to make sure you close that before you pour the sand back in. I learned that one the hard way. So. The gloves are pretty self-explanatory. As the gloves break down and rip over time, we replace them. They're super easy to replace, no big deal there. Within the sandblasting cabinet, you have this. You'll have trays. That's to put different clips and various items. Within the sandblasting cabinet, is an actual screen itself. Looks like this. This screen obviously rips over time because you're putting rotors and whatever other materials on here. As the screen rips and the debris is allowed to fall through, we have to change the screen. The screen just duct tape around the edges. The screen material, we buy rolls like this. This is located in the back room, usually on top of one of the shelves. But that's where this is located. As the screen rips, you obviously need to address that. This sometimes will last a month or two, depending. You change this at your own discretion. If the sandblaster is not working well, this is one of the things, cleaning it out, that really helps. Another thing that really helps is when you've got the sand all drained out of it, if you take and hold your finger on the tip of the sand, the gun, and blow air, it'll actually back blow, and it'll come back out the bottom, and it'll clean out any debris that's stuck in there. That's also a good idea when you're actually in there sandblasting. So, it's hard to see, but basically where this air connects to the gun inside of there, that hose can over time break down. There's also a hose that connects the gun to the sand. That hose breaks down over time because you have the sand coming through the hose, and right where it bends, it will wear down on it. So you got to make sure that you're actually taking care of those hoses in there as well. Trying to think if there's anything else that I can cover with you. The sandblaster is pretty key to our success. It's a great tool. It's something that's very useful. And making sure we're taking care of this thing on a regular basis is pretty important to our overall productivity and efficiency. The cover itself, these are on our to-do list, but the cover itself, if we change that as often as you need, change the tip as often as you need, and make sure you're cleaning out the actual cabinet about once a week.